What's up? Hey, hello, everyone. Wow. So today we are back going to be talking about Survivor Season 36, Ghost Island, Episode 3. Super, super exciting. I think this season is off to a good start. So my name is Rachel.
And I'm Alyssa. And this episode was interesting because it wasn't oh, it's so bad. But at the same time, I feel like it was an anticlimactic episode. But we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Just because I feel like
I've
the
been,
tribe swap that we started with set up so many good clashes, and then none of them happened.
yeah. I think, like we were saying last episode, we were really being set up for a Dominic Chris feud and battle playing out. And so once we didn't see that happen, it was sort of like it made it more interesting because then old purple had to start infighting or had to come and work together to vote out one of the new purple. But yeah, we didn't see that happen either, which made it really interesting. I think there's a lot of people strategizing on the island, which is really good. And I think there's a lot of people wanting to play the game and not just going with the easy move, not just voting the Angela out. So I thought okay, that's really good. People are wanting to play the game and not just oh, let's ride the waves and take the easy boot, but let's do something that maybe betters our game and fuck some other people over.
Yeah, I was kind of worried just because the way the tribe swap went, each of the tribes had 5 of the old purple and 4 of the old orange on them. So the old orange was outnumbered in both of the tribes, and I thought that was going to basically end up basically being a pagonging because it's none of them really expressed interest in voting against one of their own members until it was an imminent reality, I guess.
Yeah, so tribe swap happens within the first 7 minutes of this episode. Yippee! We saw it in the preview from last episode, and Alyssa and I were sort of thinking you sort of need a tribe swap. With 2 tribes, I think it's good. I really want them to tribe swap at least one more time before the merge, because then I don't think the relationships there's going to be enough to make the merge super interesting. So I really am hoping that they will tribe swap one more time. But this tribe swap, we have 2 tribes to another 2 tribes. Wow. And we have Jonathan, Libby, Laurel, James, Dominic, Chris, Angela, Wendell, and Morgan on the new purple tribe. So like Alyssa just said, it is a 4-5 with Jonathan, Libby, Laurel, and James being in the minority on this tribe. And this is the tribe that we do see end up going to tribal council. And then on the new orange tribe, we see Jenna, Stephanie, Brendan, Michael, Desiree, Sebastian, Kellen, Bradley, and Chelsea. And Jenna, Steph, Brendan, and Michael are on the minority 4-5 here. And I don't know. I think like we're saying, oh, upon first glance, it looks like 5-4. Let's just pagong the smaller tribe, and that's what Kellen was saying. Let's just get rid of the others. We're going to stay purple strong, and let's vote out the old orange. But I think upon further examination, sometimes I think it does you play to lose to win strategy. I think when you are in the minority come a merge or tribe swap or something of that nature, sometimes it is in your best interest to have the lower numbers, because a lot of times you see the people in the majority upon merge, tribe swap, whatever, become too confident, become too content in where they're at, and the minority is willing to make those big moves because they are pushed up against the wall. So I feel like when you are in the smaller side, it might look really shitty from the beginning, but I feel like there's always going to be cracks, so you can work your way in, I think.
Yeah, I feel like the thing is, when you're in the minority, you don't have anything to lose. So you can do the big crazy moves. And it's if you go home, well, I was going to go home anyway. So might as well go home in an interesting way. So I think that in general, I would still prefer to be in the majority, but at the same time, I feel like the minority definitely has some stuff going for them. And also just the fact that like you said, when people get cocky, that's when things go really, really wrong. And I feel like we saw that a lot last season with like Chrissy and Ryan making declarations of like, oh, we're definitely on our way, definitely straight road to final 3 or whatever. And it's like, oh, it's like, I think also as viewers, we like the minority more just because it's so easy to root for the underdog. But like, it's really hard to root for the people who are like, oh yeah, purpose strong, just because in the end, like, it doesn't always benefit your game to stay with your original tribe either, just because, like, yeah, you want to pick people you can win against.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting that we see, like, from the start, like, oh, all these tribes want to stick together. We see the fours at least wanting to stick together. And then when New Purple does go to tribal, we see the fours stick together. And then it turns out the majority was the one that split. And so I think that's really interesting because I feel like when you have more numbers, you're like, oh, these people are expendable. Let's bring in the minority, use them, and then vote out and fix the infighting problems that we're having. But I think with like a 5-4 split, like if you really want a safe vote, you have to stay strong, or else something like we saw this episode could happen, and you could go home just like that, based off of your infighting and having the lesser numbers. So I think that's just something to like keep in mind. And I think it's a good thing Stephanie didn't vote out Michael last time. And I think the Stephanie, Jenna, Brendan, Michael foursome is going to be a really, really strong foursome on the new Orange tribe. And I think, I don't know, with Orange tribe dynamics, off first bat, it looks like, oh, everyone is super strong and wants to stay old orange, old purple. But then, like, with the previews for next episode, we see Stephanie crying. We see Michael tell everyone about the idol, which we'll talk about the idol later. But I think with this, like with this tribe, at least with New Orange, we have seen so much from Jenna, Steph, Brendan, and Michael that I really personally would want to root for them because we know sort of some of their backstory. Whereas with Desiree, Sebastian, Kellen, Bradley, and Chelsea, like we haven't seen that much for them. So I'm sort of hoping that like the other side becomes victorious in the next episode. Like, I don't know. It's just hard because we haven't seen much of them on the screen. So how do you root for someone that we haven't seen?
Yeah, I feel like the first couple of episodes of any new Survivor season is always really interesting for me because I haven't decided yet who I want to root for. Just because, like, it's like you said, we don't see enough of them to be like, oh, I totally want to root for this person. So I feel like it's only around episode 4 or 5 where I choose someone and I'm like, this is the person I want to win.
Yeah, I think like as well. Just like it's so hard because you want everyone to do well, but obviously that can't be the case. And I think with the new Orange, tell me why Sebastian's every single one of his confessionals are like super, super weird. This dude is like straight up on drugs. He's like, oh, I'm like a piece of Laffy Taffy, and then he's like banana flavored. And then last time he was talking about some candy reference too in his confessional. I'm like, holy crap, this dude only talks about candy in confessionals, which is funny, but like sort of weird.
Yeah, I thought it was really funny that he picked banana-flavored Laffy Taffy, too, just because I think that banana is the suckiest flavor. So I'm like, Sebastian, why are you picking a candy flavor that is so divisive? Because I feel like with banana Laffy Taffy, you either love it or you hate it. And like you said, I just feel like he's constantly high, but at the same time, I know that, like, he has no way to access
he just has that
sports.
face that's like, just like he stares off into the distance and you can't tell if he's thinking anything or just like staring off into the distance. I don't know. His face just makes him look like he's not thinking most of the time.
Yeah. I just feel like Sebastian is going to be one of those players that is like, we're constantly like, what the fuck? I feel like he's going to be like a male young Debbie where like everything that comes out of his mouth, we're just like, what are you thinking? Yeah.
Yeah, like what drugs are you taking on the island because they don't have drugs there? Yeah, I don't know. I thought with New Orange, it was really interesting. Kellen talked basically 3 times in this first beginning sequence. She talked like 1 or 2 times when the tribes were swapping, and then she gets another confessional talking about like, oh, new camp life, that kind of thing. So I'm like, damn, for someone who hasn't gone to tribal council yet, Kellen has gotten a lot of screen time, a lot of confessionals within the premiere and this episode. So, I mean, I think it bodes well for her because a lot of people think she is like a good winner pick for the season. But it also may be like, she's about to get screwed over in the next few episodes. But I feel like for someone to be idled out, I think Chelsea would be the one to get idled out next episode if Orange were to go to tribal, just because Chelsea has literally not said anything, has not even like gotten airtime this season.
Yeah, with what you said about Kellen, part of it is like the stuff that she says isn't always like true. And that's like one of the things that I feel like people look at a lot when they're doing Edgic, because it's like she says like, oh, we should definitely stay purple strong, and then the other tribe like doesn't do purple strong. So it's like I feel like part of it definitely is how true the things are that she's saying, because it could just be setting her up as like a narrator that ends up getting screwed over by her own inability to like read the situation.
Yeah, so I think that should be interesting. We saw a little bit from Kellen on this tribe to the Sebastian thing, and then I feel like we saw middle a lot from Bradley. For a tribe that doesn't go to tribal council, Bradley got like a lot of talking time when he's complaining about the new tribe island. He's complaining that this beach has dirt and sand. I'm like, Bradley, no. Like, I'm sure he's not talking about this the entire time that he was on the island, but from the edit that he is getting, like, my dude is probably not in a good place and could get voted out next time because he's probably perceived as annoying on the tribe.
Yeah, it's like the first episode, he was barely there. And then when he does get there, it's just people talking about how much he complains. So,
yeah, not a good look for Bradley, which is sort of sucky, but I don't know. I guess we'll see how things go with that. I think, yeah, New Orange, we didn't see a lot from them because they didn't go to tribal, which is sort of sucky because I think they could have a lot of really good narratives on this tribe, but alas, we see a lot again from the New Purple, and the Dominic Chris feud sort of takes up everything on this tribe. So we start with like Chris bossing Angela around, and Angela has some good like speaking points here. She's like, oh, Chris isn't talking to you, but he's like talking to you but not with you. And I thought that was really interesting because it did seem like, oh, Chris is just telling these people how to vote. He's telling Libby and James how to vote. And I think Libby had a really, really good episode. She is like, oh, I'm just going to play dumb, but I'm not going to be dumb. But I think Libby had a good episode, and it shows that she's like thinking on the island. But with the Morgan vote, Libby personally loses a close ally that she said like she was closest to on the tribe from the like the closest person she is with like someone on the other tribe. So I think like that would be a negative for Libby.
Yeah, I feel like Libby, I still don't really understand like why Morgan, like Rachel and I were talking about this, about how like the people that they wanted to get voted out, like they had reasons to keep them, and then it's like Morgan was like their third choice, and I'm like, if you have to vote your third choice out, I feel like you should really consider whether or not you really need your first 2 choices. Just because, like, I don't know. It just annoys me when people are like, I didn't really want to vote this person out, but they were the only option. Because I'm like, no, they're not the only option. And I feel like definitely what Rachel said about, like, she voted out the person that she said she was closest to. So it's like, why you do that?
Wait, Alyssa, did you stop talking? Because you were like cutting out for some of that.
Yeah, I stopped talking. I don't know why I was cutting out. That face.
You want to like summarize what you said? we heard some of it about like the third choice, but not the beginning part.
Basically, just it's stupid that people will vote out like their third or fourth choice, and like you should reconsider your life if you do that, because it's just stupid to vote out someone you don't really want to vote out. The end.
Yeah, I don't know. This tribe was in like a weird limbo, I guess, because of the whole Ghost Island thing, which we'll talk about. But I think it seems like, within the old purple tribe, on this new purple tribe, we have the Morgan, Dom, Wendell, Chris, Angela fivesome. And you're like, that's not going to be good for purple because Morgan, Dom, and Wendell seemingly are like a group, and then Chris and Angela are seemingly another group. And so like that causes infighting, but then neither side is able to like successfully bring in the old orange votes in order to like get their agenda worked out. And maybe that was because Chris was at tribal and maybe they were going to all vote Dominic. We don't know. But like neither side was able to swing the votes in their way, and then it ended up screwing them in the end. And I don't know, I thought the Libby Morgan Catholic girl friendship could have been like a cool lasting thing. Like, Libby was saying how she finally felt like this was a real alliance. So I think bad for Libby, I guess, voting out one of her closest alliance members that she was saying they were really close and buddy. And I think good for James. I think James had a really good episode, which we can talk about when we talk about like tribal and stuff. But I don't know. Purple Tribe after Tribal 2 is just 50 shades of fucked now.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like Purple Tribe is not going to be doing super well, and then Chris is going to come back to like a mess, and I feel like when Chris comes back, that's just going to make it even worse. And like, I'm really upset that Chris went to Ghost Island. Like,
yikums. So we'll talk. Jenna, Stephanie, Michael, and Brendan look for the idol, and then Michael finds the idol. And I think this is amazing. Like, in the middle of the freaking day, no one on the New Orange tribe who aren't in, like, this part of the alliance, even, like, we're looking for them, or we don't see anyone, like, watching them, or, like, keeping an eye out, or thinking, oh, it's sketchy that those four went out into the woods together. They've been gone a while, kind of thing. And I mean, like, honestly, if you are willing to let the minority find advantages like this, like, I guess you sort of deserve to go home. Same thing like last season when Ben was able to find 6 million idols. Like, if you aren't willing to spend your time to watch the people that you want to vote out, like, that's part of the game. I think, like, if they're willing to put in the extra work to get these things to further their game and you aren't, like, sucks.
yeah, I'm just like, because I feel like we talked about this a lot last season when it's like Ben would go and find idols and people would get upset because Ben was playing a lot of idols. It's like he went out and found them. And also, you have the advantage of numbers still. Like, there's 5 of you and 4 of them. You each get a person, and then there's an extra person too. Like,
yeah, like
these people on Survivor frustrate me so much.
Like, I don't know, is lack of sleep or like getting 2 hours less of sleep one night or setting up shifts in the night to watch the person worth, like, that is worth $1 million, because you could be the one idled out by Ben or idled out by Michael and them next episode or whenever they're going to play the idol, and that's your $1 million for not watching someone. And like, you can't watch everyone, but like, I don't know. You just got to be careful, I think. In the middle of the night, it's harder, but like middle of the day, guys, come on. And I don't know. I think it's hard, like I was saying, to root for the old purple tribe on the new orange tribe because like we just have not seen them on TV, on our TV. They have not gotten that much screen time. All we have seen from them was like, oh, Desiree doing good in challenges, Sebastian saying weird shit, and then Kellen gets some stuff, and Bradley was just complaining this episode. Chelsea's like, is she there on the island? She hasn't talked yet. And Yeah, I don't know. Like, so Michael finds this idol that James had from China. Michael goes and like reads the long ass paper, which I was sort of like, yes, okay, we get the backstory. The casual fan gets the backstory, but like, that was 2 minutes of our time learning about James's idol from China, and then flashbacking to James and like PG and all of them. So I was like, great, but. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was cute. Michael was 8 years old when he watched China, and then now he has that idol, and that's a huge thing. You cannot hide in your pants, which is sort of sucky.
Yeah, that one is yikes. Just because, yeah, like you said, you can't really hide that idol in your pants, and I feel like it's whenever you bring your bag with you to tribal council, I feel like that's suspicious AF. Or at the same time, it feels like giving up. Like, I don't know. That idol is so huge, and I'm really glad that, like, they've started using smaller idols, but at the same time, I'm kind of upset that it wasn't hidden in plain sight like the original one was, just because, like, that would be funny AF.
Yo, that would actually be so good if they had like an archway or something like where they put the tribal flag and then stuck it there, because then people would like have to like realize or something, because this was just wrapped by a fucking tree. I was like, oh, that's so easy to find if you look at the right tree. You're not going to miss that. So I think that would have been so interesting, because then it's sort of the similar finding situation, because in Michael's little soliloquy, he was like, oh, you know, James found it in plain sight. No one else knew to look in plain sight. So I think that would have been really, really interesting.
Yeah, I'm also kind of worried because the one advantage that has been in play, the legacy advantage, has already like started cursing people again. Because Jacob found it and went home and gave it to Morgan, who also went home, and it's like, ugh. I like don't really believe in ghosts or whatever, but it's a curse. It's an
Yeah,
honest to God curse.
all of these, maybe every advantage is cursed. They're going to go home. Hopefully someone is able to use it right in the next few episodes. And I think with the whole finding the idol thing, it just, like we were saying, it goes to show when you're on the bottom or when you are desperate, you put in the work to further yourself in the game, rather when you are content or like have the numbers, you just sit and you're like content with where you're at. So I think good for them going out finding the idol, realizing they needed an advantage in the game because of the numbers. And I think, I don't know, I sort of want them to go to tribal next week, because I think that'll be a really good episode, seeing how like that all plays out with an idol.
Yeah, I feel like I'm I'm still a little weary of like how many idols are going to be in play, but at the same time, I feel like it's definitely going to make for good TV if one of the either tribe like plays an idol. So
Yeah, purrs. So, immunity challenge. I thought the Ninja Warrior steps was really cute at the beginning. That was cool.
yeah,
The two tribes were pretty even throughout the challenge, and then I think this challenge you definitely need hella amount of teamwork to be able to complete it. Orange wins, purple loses. I don't know. That's a challenge.
yeah, I feel like this challenge was interesting just because like the physical aspects didn't seem to be that difficult. Like both Chris and Sebastian like nailed the like rope throwing thing. The Ninja Warrior steps definitely weren't as hard as the ones like on the actual American Ninja Warrior. And like I feel like the hardest part was definitely the puzzle, just because it was very geometric and like uneven. But at the same time, like they made quick work of it, or at least it seemed pretty quick.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know if it's like one of those puzzles where you can look at the holes, but I don't know. Good for Helen and Bradley, two smart people, I feel like. So good for them being on the puzzle. Wendell, Desiree, Wendell and who was Wendell and
Wendell and
Laurel?
Laurel.
Yeah. Not your puzzle, I guess, but I think they're smart as well. So the immunity challenge, yay. I think the more interesting part of this was the Ghost Island strategy, because I feel like there is a lot of thought that you can put into the Ghost Island, like who you send to Ghost Island. And we saw a little like inkling of it last episode when they chose to send Jacob to try to like keep him around for the first episode, and then they decide to send Jonathan to keep him around and like weaken the other tribes like numbers, because then you're forced to vote out a strong person. And I think it's really interesting because these two tribes were split 5-4, and obviously if you're if you're not a part of the 5, you really want someone from the 5 to go to make it a 4-4, and like, oh, they might have to draw rocks or like make it have a fighting chance. Or if you're part of the 5, you really want it to be a 5-3. So then you know, like, haha, like we're totally going to vote the other 3 out now because we have that numbers advantage that's like secure.
Yeah, I feel like definitely with 5-3, it would be a lot harder to swing, especially because you need 2 people to swing, so it wouldn't be a 4-4 tie. But at the same time, I feel like giving someone the power to possibly have an advantage is also a big thing. But I guess that depends on how much these people know about Ghost Island and the fact that people are winning advantages there.
Yeah, and I like how Ghost Island, they're not giving everyone who goes an advantage. Hopefully there's like 3 maybe throughout the whole like 13 days or something. I'm not sure how many it was. 13 people go, 13 slots or whatever. But yeah, I think it's interesting that it has to be unanimous, because obviously with these tribes, I feel like we're not going to see a unanimous vote, especially when the numbers are so contentious like they are right now. And so we're going to see a lot of drawing rocks, I feel like, within these next few episodes. So loser draws rocks here. White Rock goes to Ghost Island. And I think this worked out so perfectly for Old Orange, because now it's a 4-4 split. And so, yeah, Chris goes to Ghost Island. So now it's a 4-4 split. And they don't have the easy vote off of like voting like Dominic or Chris, but the old purple of Dom, Angela, Wendell, and Morgan have to like actually feel like, oh, who do we want to vote for, because they don't have the easy Chris vote, and then the other tribe can do their own thing, and it really frees up a lot of things, I think, in this episode.
Yeah, I feel like I was kind of hoping for like the Chris Dominic plot line to just be like a really simple little bloop arc, but I guess it'll be interesting to see if that gets resolved next episode or like later down the line or like never, question mark. But like you said, I feel like there's a lot still going on. And I think it's really interesting too, just because like Angela being away from Chris, like I feel like his indoctrination or his attempt at indoctrination like just isn't going to work anymore. So I think that'll definitely be interesting.
Yeah, I'm really hoping. I really think Orange is going to Tribal next time, given the previews. So maybe in 2 episodes we'll see this play out, or if they do go to Tribal next episode, because I'm sort of being annoyed by this whole Chris Dom feud. I sort of want to see other people on the tribe and hear them speak. So Chris goes to Ghost Island, and this sequence sort of confused me. I thought it was funny. Chris said he was spooked. I was like, that's an interesting word choice. He didn't get an advantage, no game. And I don't know. I think when he is crying and talking about his mom and MS and showing like, oh, he has emotions. He's like having a tough time at this game. He has feelings. I just felt very conflicted, because last episode I really felt like the edit was set up really well for Chris being a villain. We're not supposed to like Chris. Dominic is going to come out on top. But then after seeing this whole Chris sequence of him crying and stuff, I feel bad for him. And like, do you like him now? Do you dislike him now? It's just so confusing.
Yeah. And I feel like it's good that they're trying to get more into like the gray area instead of having someone who's like a super villain is villain and a super heroic hero. But at the same time, I'm like, ugh, it would be so much easier if I could just hate him.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought like first episode, oh, great, we have someone to dislike. And then this episode, I'm like, damn, Chris has some substance. And I don't know. I think Ghost Island was good for Chris. He was able to like vent his emotions, have some time to himself. So now he's able to come back better and stronger than ever.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel
Yeah,
like Ghost Island is also good because it guarantees you at least a little snippet of time, even if it's literally just you like breaking the thing and being like, no game today. Like you don't want to get sent to Ghost Island just for the sake of your edit.
oh, for screen time. Yeah. And I feel like it just would probably be nice to just have like time to yourself and peace and quiet and not worry about like socializing or like people talking. Because like you're safe, you can't get voted out. And like it's fate what happens back at your camp. If like they're going to vote out some of your alliance or the other alliance, it's all fate and it's not in your hands. So you don't have to worry until you go back. And then when Chris goes back, he's going to see that his tribe is royally screwed.
Yeah, I feel like that whole having a break from tribal council without like your tribe having a break for tribal council is like, like that would be really scary. I feel like just because like Jeff said, you're out of the social politics of the game. So
Yeah. So before tribal, Angela tells everyone, oh, I don't want to vote for Chris's plan. I want to work with you guys, be force strong. And it's like, yes, we can have a 4-4 thing. But Purple wanted to bring in the others and then vote out Angela because Angela is Chris's right-hand girl. And then I don't know. Okay, that part I was like, fine, you don't want to go to rocks for people, so let's just vote out someone. But then they're voting out one of their own, which makes sense because you're like, oh, let's weaken Chris. But Chris is also one of your own, and I feel like when the numbers are so close, I don't know, you can't really be risking voting out one of your own versus voting out one of the others because you just met them.
yeah, what I don't get is why you don't vote out one of the other tribes, so make it 5-3, and then vote out one of your own. So you still have the numbers advantage and you still get the person out that you want to get out.
Yeah, like that would be the most logical thing, right? Like
Patience
that
is a virtue.
but we can never see that happen on Survivor. It's like, oh, let's stick with the one vote so you have a distinct numbers advantage. But that is seemingly happening less and less, which makes for good TV, I think, versus a pagonging, but doesn't make for these people's good times on Survivor. I don't know. So Dominic shows everyone that he has a fake idol, and I think that just makes him more of a target. I feel like because of this, maybe Dominic could be the one to go home in this Chris Dom feud. Because Dominic, like, why show Chris you have a fake idol in the first place and then show everyone else you have a fake idol to try to get them off your back that you have a real idol? And I think James had a really, really good episode this time because he sees through Dominic's games. He's like, Dominic is Russell 2.0. He's lying straight to my face. He like probably has a real idol, but he's showing us this fake idol. And then he swears on his children. And I think James's intuition is spot on during this time.
Yeah, I feel like this was really good for James, especially because during the premiere, he was like not super great with all of his like excessive apologizing or whatever. And also, if Dominic does go home, it will solidify the fact that this legacy advantage is legit cursed. Just saying.
Oh my God, you're right. And I think, yeah, I think it's also good because James brings up a point like, oh, maybe they aren't sticking to Angela, but they want us to vote Angela. So then, like, the votes are so then they're able to vote out one of the other four, and then the votes are like split that way. And I think good for James for like realizing things like that. And so then they're like, okay, Orange needs to stick together and either vote for Wendell or Morgan. And then they're like, okay, we need Wendell for challenges, but Libby likes Morgan. And then I guess, I don't know, Donathan is barely in this. I did not see him at all. I didn't even realize like he was on this tribe. And I don't know. I think James had the right idea. Like those four needed to stick to the same target to show unity.
Yeah, I feel like the fact that Donathan kind of dropped off meant that he was probably just in the premiere a lot because of his like Ghost Island stuff and because of his like kind of interestingness as a character. So I'm glad that we did not get like beat over the head with Donathan.
Yeah, he had like one talking thing, I think. And I don't know, I think it was really good for James because, okay, I guess like at Tribal, it's, yeah, I don't know. I think it's funny. Libby does get that lying question, and then Morgan is like, LMAO, Libby is so cute. She wouldn't lie. Maybe she's been lying. Maybe she hasn't lied yet. And I thought that was like foreshadowing. And then Dom didn't play the idol, which I think could have been a sticky situation if he were to get votes. And maybe he had that feeling like, oh, I'm not getting votes tonight. But he seems pretty surprised that Morgan was getting votes. So I think maybe Dom is, I don't know, maybe not overconfident, but like not playing his bases correctly to know like when someone, where he needs to know where the votes are going so he's able to play the idol correctly, I think. And if the votes were going to him tonight, he would have been voted out with an idol.
Yeah. He just seemed like really out of the loop just because I feel like he definitely hasn't fostered like an atmosphere of trust. So.
Yeah, I feel like I wouldn't want to tell him stuff. He's sketch.
Yeah. Basically, I think going forward, the Purple Tribe is basically going to be fucked, and the Orange Tribe will probably also be fucked, but we don't know how yet. So.
I think, yeah, Purple Tribe, I think Old Purple is very messed up now because Dominic, Wendell, and, well, Morgan's gone, but Dominic and Wendell just showed their cards and they voted for Angela. Angela, no way in hell is she going to want to work with Dominic or Wendell anymore, so she's going to go back to Chris. So it's sort of like a Dominic Wendell alliance, and then you have a Chris Angela alliance, and then you have the other four. And I think the other four can bring in Chris and Angela into their tribe because Chris was gone. He doesn't really know what happened, and they didn't vote out Angela. So I think those two can go with the four old orange, and then they all can work together. And yeah, I just think like voting Angela, showing your cards when you are on the same tribe, like it's just Angela can't trust you anymore. She is not going to want to work with you. And I think honestly, good for James with this episode. Literally, the vote splits a tight alliance between Libby and Morgan up because Morgan is voted out. So you don't have to worry about those two girls like talking anymore or becoming super close and wanting to vote you out. The original Purple Tribe is super messed up. And then by default, I think, yeah, Chris and Angela are weaker than Dominic and Wendell. So you sort of want Chris and Angela around and on your side rather than having two strong guys like Dominic and Wendell around and like in the numbers. You want them on the weaker side.
Yeah, like you don't want the big alpha males to be on the stronger side because then they're just like, especially once it gets closer to the merge and it's like you have to start thinking about voting those people out so that they can like not go on immunity streaks or whatever. So,
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, I think really great episode for the James, Donathan, Laurel, Libby alliance. I think it really sets up James well. We saw a lot of him this episode. Didn't really see much from Laurel or Donathan about like who their friendships are, but from James's point of view, I think really good. He and like the others and Libby will have a nice 6 if they can bring in Chris and Angela, and I think Chris would want to work with them because this episode we see him already sort of bossing them around to try to vote Dominic out. And I think James and them wouldn't really be all that angry about voting Dominic out because they're already sketched out by him. They just have to be very careful with his idol.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said. 10 out of 10.
Yeah. Yes, so I guess next time on Survivor, I don't know, I'm hoping Orange goes to Tribal. I really want to see a potential idol play and to see how these underdogs will be able to work their way back into the game. But I also think with the Ghost Island thing could make it an even more like tumultuous tribal council, because if it is a 5-3 split, you really have to play that idol correct. And even with 4-4 maybe, but like 5-3, I think you need to have your ears open, ready for who's going to be the target to play the idol correctly, and then you have the advantage of idling out someone on the other tribe. And I'm just sort of done with the Chris Dominic drama. Like, one of them needs to go home so we can hear from more people on whichever tribe they're on.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to hear from more people still, just because like we got a couple more people that were in the shot for like 10 seconds each, but I would definitely like to see more from people. So, and like you said, I also really agree that like Chris and Dominic should just like, one of them needs to have their throat cut. It'll be fine.
Yes, so that is episode 3. Let us know what you thought in the comments below. Did you like the episode? Did you dislike it? Who do you think is going home next week? So that sort of rounds out everything that we are going to be talking about. So I guess we will see you all next week.
Bye.